How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Unsigned Pop Punk Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Tarnowski, and with me is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Super Gibby. And today we welcome Daniel Rinaldi from Bedlight For Blue Eyes. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
It's our pleasure. I'm stoked that you reached out to me about this in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, podcasts are like, the way I get through the days, most of the time. And I always enjoy when I find the ones that are kind of like in my wheelhouse of music and all that good stuff. So
Yeah, it's when you message, you're like, hey, I was in a band, you might have heard of, and I was like, fuck, dude, yeah, I know who Bedlight for fucking Blue Eyes is.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't like I'm a little far removed to still kind of like play any sort of card. So it's
Sure.
it's one of those things where it's like, hey, not sure if like you ever heard of us, but
Baby. But yeah, no, I was like, holy shit. And then like Gibby kind of tested, like messaged them right away. I was like, dude, guess what? You'll never guess what. I thought
And
it,
then I hit him with who? No, I'm kidding.
yeah, no.
no,
I'm
that's
So
kidding.
hey, you know
no,
what? There was like those, we were like on that, we teetered on that edge of like people knew us, but like, or they heard of us,
hmm
or it was like, we never like crossed that threshold
hmm
in that scene of like, I guess at that time, like, you know, who was coming up. I mean, like, we weren't like Newfound Glory and Census Fail, right? But
right,
like, we kind of like rode the middle a little bit.
right. Which I mean, you rode the middle with a lot of other super talented popular bands.
Yeah.
You guys were doing some pretty fucking cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Definitely cool. Definitely fun stuff.
and so to backtrack a little bit, me and Gibby have this, like, it's not even so much a game as it is Gibby very often will like present like a band to me and I'll be like, that's awesome, dude. Who's that? And
Yeah.
like
Right.
the only difference is I'm super positive about it and he just gives me shit. But
I'm
I'm
just
always like,
who?
because I'm still excited, but I don't know who it is. I'm like,
Right,
that's
right.
awesome. Who's that?
Yeah,
And
but I
so,
mean, there's so many, right? Like,
yeah.
there's so much music out there.
Oh, it's in an insane amount. It's been a while since we've even probably brought up the number, but I mean, as of right now, Unsigned Pop Punk currently, I've kept, you know, very detailed notes and stuff since I started this, and we're closing in on like 4,000 different bands that we've worked with or had on
Wow,
the playlist and stuff like that. Just in this scene alone, 4,000,
wow, that's crazy.
you know,
That's awesome.
and growing constantly. So it's there's a lot of competition out there, and I would easily say there's more than ever with
I think so. I think it's it's the age of the internet. I think we've
yeah,
only gotten more advanced, and there's been like in the 2000 in the early 2000s scene what was there, MySpace, and that was kind of
yeah,
it. Pure Volume was like
yeah.
another
Yep.
kind of
mp3.com.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's like you could be a band who's like pretty much unknown, go on TikTok, put your music out there, and then all of a sudden, you know start selling out shows.
Right.
And there's bands that like know how to do those things now, as opposed to, I don't know if in 2005 we would have known anything of how to like go viral, right? But
No.
now it's like you have bands that like, oh yeah, we'll play the song, we'll do like a funny dance to it, and
hmm
people will go nuts, and we'll have a trillion streams.
Right.
This is awesome, So it's like, I think it allows for the bands that maybe it's harder to break through.
hmm
Now they have that way where they don't even need to leave essentially their house to
Right.
start a career. So I mean, it's great. I think it's great. I mean, I'm sure there's
Yeah.
people out there that don't think that don't think it's great, or think they're kind of jumping the line a little bit. But like,
Sure.
I think it's awesome.
Well, but it's just a different time. It's a different era. There's always been line jumpers, you
Yeah,
know, and but because before TikTok, it was just all about who you knew. You
right.
could be popular and be on, you could be on Warped Tour, you could be on big shows and not even be very talented. But if you had a friend that was talented or you knew a friend, that's really all it took. It's a little bit, it's harder now also if you think
Yeah,
about it in that aspect because you have to give people something they want.
right.
Like TikTok is a fickle bitch. You know, you to get somebody to pay attention to you for 5 seconds, let
Yep.
alone get you a million streams, is not an easy task.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the accessibility has gone in the scene too, where it's like back in the day, like you said, like you could have a friend, in another band, hit them up, hey, let's go on tour together.
Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily happens anymore, right?
No,
Like the
not so
tours are too
much.
big, the tours are too big, the things are too big where they're all kind of like like no one's calling up, especially nowadays, like like Bad Omens who like blew up, right? Like no one's like, oh hey, like can we hop on the tour with you? They're like, sorry, we can't do that. We're going out with Metallica,
Yeah.
or like things like that, or where back in the day you can hit up. I remember calling managers up and being like, hey, like a tour would be fun. Yeah, let's do it. Let's book it. And before you know it, you have a full US.
Yeah.
And now it's like it doesn't necessarily like happen anymore. You kind of really have to, have the numbers, have the draw. Back in the day, you had to have a checkbook,
Yeah.
sometimes the pay to play bands and stuff
Yep.
like that. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's an interesting landscape, but I think it's in a good place.
It's just I would say it's just in a different space. It's
Yeah,
not any better, it's not any worse. It's just different,
for sure.
like there's so many shows and stuff that still go on. So luckily, we didn't lose that aspect. We didn't
Right.
lose live music or anything, but it's just a different way of getting to the top more now, I think is because back in 2005, 2000, stuff like that, you had to just get in a van, go
Yep.
play shows. That was the only way. You
Yeah.
just have to tour, 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 and that's how you got your name out there.
Yeah, absolutely. There was the tour, walk around a mall with a CD player
Yeah,
and
or a
hope
little
someone hears it.
little iPod.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's how we used to kill it. We used to crush it. Go into malls, we go talk to them. Let's go talk to them.
Yeah.
Here, check this out. We're on tour. Do you want to buy a CD for $5?
Yeah, right, right, right. And you just whip out the backpack.
Yep. Oh, that was the life, man. It was so fun.
I think when I think back to those days of like they almost don't seem real anymore. Like
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where it's like so I think we're going on like I'm going on like the 20th anniversary of our like last CD that we put out.
Hmm.
And it's like to think back to those days of like really grinding and like going to the mall and like standing in front of the Hot Topic with a CD player, or
Yep.
like you get to like, you know, you get to that like McDonald's where like all the kids from the local school are at, and you're like, hey, check us out, we're playing tonight down the block. And they actually show up, or
Right.
things like that. Like it's an interesting time. It's weird because of like where we're at now in the world, and like you couldn't even like I couldn't even imagine grinding like that now with
Yeah.
like gas prices, like this, like we came out of a pandemic, like all of that stuff
Right.
where it's like,
Just going up and talking to people.
yeah, like going up and talking to people and being like, here, put this on your ears and listen to it. we're
Right.
we're tattooed and have straight hair, like look at us. Like it's just
Right.
you can't imagine doing that like anywhere. And malls are, most of them are dead, so it's
Yeah.
you can't even do that anymore. But it's wild, and like it's interesting. But I think like there's a lot of good stuff still going on. Like I try and keep my ear to the ground a lot, and like there's still so many like especially Jersey where my band was from. There's still
Yeah.
so many like
Oh, Jersey killing it.
basement shows, and there's still VFW shows, and
Hmm.
especially the hardcore scene over there too is like still like alive and well.
Totally.
So it's like it's super cool to see that.
Yeah, you got a good scene over in Jersey.
Yeah.
But you brought up some anniversary type stuff. So with that's gonna hop in my first question. So because we're creeping up now on the 18-year anniversary of Life on Life's terms, and
Yep.
last year you did the limited vinyl drop with Smart Punk. Um, so with the Dawn hitting the 20-year milestone this year, do you guys have any plans for doing anything special for this album?
It definitely could happen. I know like, you know, as far as like any like, shows go or anything like that, I think we're kind of like all in very, very different places. I wish there was a
Sure.
way to and I'm also like, I find it weird being like the let's do it with one guy and a bunch of fill-in musicians and it not
Right,
really be like I know like Chiodos is out there, right? And like Craig is doing it by himself, right?
right,
And although you can make an argument when you think of that, you think of Craig and Craig is the defining voice and
right.
all that stuff, but like to me it's like we wrote the albums, we toured, people knew us, every person had a point in the band and something to do with the band. I could see there being like some like another vinyl drop. Um, I know I'm pretty sure Smart Punk would be down for it. I think we had like a really good showing with Life on Life's Terms, so I think they'd be down to do another run um with us. And I think like with our old record label kind of like coming back from the dead and Trustkill kind of coming back and doing some stuff. Having their support is always huge. Like with
Yeah.
the Life on Life's Terms vinyl release, that was kind of like me at like 3 in the morning one day, one morning, like texting Josh, the owner, being like, dude, what, like, could we do a vinyl? Like, is that possible? And he was like, yeah, let's let's do it. That's awesome. Like, and for me, it was more selfish. Like, I was just like, I just kind of want the album on vinyl. Like,
Yeah.
and it ended up like people loved it,
Hmm.
and really wanted to really gravitated to buying it. So I'm hoping. I think it'd be really cool to get the Dawn out there, and kind of like, could just kind of continue having the legacy kind of be there.
Yeah. You do like a limited cassette drop for it.
That'd be cool. I know there's so many cool. I mean, again, like it talks about the times, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so many cool things that you can do, and like bands have just like always now like step it up, like with like the merch and
Hmm.
stuff that they put out. Like there's so many bands that I admire that I'm like, oh my God, like that merch drop was like incredible. Or, oh man, I didn't even know they made vinyl like that.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So I think it'd be really cool to do. I'm always down to do anything. I love being involved in that. I love talking music. I love still, weaseling my way into the scene and still like kind of being like, hey, remember me? Sort of thing like I did to you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could totally see like a vinyl drop or some sort of cool merch to kind of do that. Maybe especially the fact that Trustkill is back.
Yeah.
We could kind of do something with them as well because he's literally has every original piece of art, piece of music known to man.
Hmm. That's sick. Love that. And it's good to see Trustkill back as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, like there was rumblings for a little bit, and then there started to be like all of these like crazy vinyl drops. And then all of a sudden it was like, by the way, we're gonna put Hellfest on again. And
Damn.
I was like, sick. Like that's
Sick.
amazing. I mean, and why wouldn't you, right? With like we're in the age of festivals. It
Hmm.
was one of the bigger,
I
Syracuse, Jersey kind of
I
things.
I have a Hellfest DVD.
Yeah.
So
It's I mean, and Trustkill was like the defining like hardcore metalcore
hmm
of their time. So to like bring 18 Visions out of the woodwork, to bring Bleeding Through, to bring Walls of Jericho, all these
yeah.
bands, in one place, Terror Throwdown, whoever is
Oh,
like, it's insane.
it'd be so sick.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
I love it. And then Bleeding Through also, their new stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
So
So
good.
good.
it's
So good.
incredible. Like, like It Dies Today coming back, like all of these bands just like kind of coming back and then like putting out new stuff, and you're like, oh, like they're just as good. They just maybe
Hmm.
wear like a knee brace and have kids and like,
Yep.
have to get back to their teaching job on Monday.
Hmm.
But like they're still like Poison the Well, still out there killing it.
Yeah. No, it's awesome to see all of the bands that I grew up listening to have that second chance.
Yeah.
Like, let's fucking do this again, guys. Like, I love it.
Yeah. And like definitely props to things like Furnace Fest, and because I think
Yeah.
like they were one of like the big ones where people start like, of course we have like the When We Were Youngs for like that
Right.
group, but like Furnace Fest was really like the like, hey, come on, like everyone, come and have a reunion on our festival.
Hmm.
And we ended up getting, like what like last year, like the Chariot, like
Yeah.
all of these bands, like
Yeah.
It was
like
huge.
just insane. And I think, this year is going to be even crazier.
It's awesome. Stoked for that.
So you touched on a little bit that Bedlight for Blue Eyes has done a lot of really cool, a lot of really fun stuff that a lot of bands like that are probably listening to this right now wish they had the chance to do. Like you've played with some of the most iconic bands from the scene. Y'all played Warped Tour, and probably to be like what the biggest accomplishment of them all, you were on the Punk Go series,
Yep.
which is super cool. But I want to know, what are some of your favorite moments from the band?
I mean, definitely like one of my favorite moments was um getting to tour with we were on the Newfound Glory Census Fail Receiving at a Sirens tour.
Mm.
And that was definitely like one of the highlights. We're playing sold out shows with, you know, pop punk royalty, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Newfound Glory headlining a show, like, and I'll never forget, like, being on stage, being kind of like the semi unknown band on that tour, and then like looking and seeing like Jordan from Newfound Glory, like watching your set, and like being like, what the hell? Like, what? Why are you even watching our set? And then like, getting to kind of hang out with those guys day in and day out and kind of like learn a whole
Yeah.
lot from them. That was definitely a super defining moment for me, especially. I think, if you asked anyone else in the band, that would definitely be a defining moment. Another one for me, selfishly, was we got to tour with the band The Sleeping.
Okay.
It was us, The Sleeping. This was a weird, very weird package, but it was us, The Sleeping, The Color Fred,
Okay.
4 Year Strong, Vanna, and I think like Set Your Goals was on a couple shows. It was like the
That
weirdest
Well,
just
that's
conglomerate of
craziest
every
lineup.
every corner of the genre pretty much.
right. And that's like doesn't that speak to like the 2000s era of
Yeah.
like we're just gonna put every single band that we can on a tour package, like, so those were big. And one of the ones that really sticks out to me is we did a co-headliner right before Life on Life's Terms dropped, with Mayday Parade. And huge. They went on to do, still doing
Hmm.
amazing things. Like the fact that 20 years later, these guys are still out there killing it, putting out new music, doing their thing is phenomenal. But that was another standout one because we it was like you got to watch like this band get their wings and just kind of like go for it. And it was really cool to be on the ground level. And obviously, like recording Life on Life's Terms with Zach and Ken, who are, famous for doing the Mayday Parade albums, Cartel.
Hmm.
Um, so like, getting to record with them in Georgia at Tree Sound Studios was unbelievable. Playing on, we had to borrow instruments from the band Collective Soul. Um,
Dude,
right,
Collective
like
Soul, that's
playing their
sick.
instruments first, like on the record, playing at a piano that like Elton John played on. It was just like an experience where it was like, you couldn't fathom it at that time because like bands that we knew weren't doing that. You know, like they
Hmm.
were we were recording at our in our buddy's studio in Jersey, and then all of a sudden we were told like you're going to record here, and we were like, what? What are you
You
talking
got it.
about?
Let's
So
do it.
like, you know, the really cool touring, you know, obviously being part of like the Punkos legacy is another huge one. Playing Warped Tour is another is a huge, you know, I think it's when you list off like when you tick the boxes of like what you were supposed to do in the 2000s era, I think that was definitely a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, trying to think if there's like a whole lot of other accolades you could have hit, you know.
Yeah,
Uh
it was
were you also on Drive Through Records? Because that's
no.
probably about it.
No, but I mean, you know, we were always playing shows with Drive Through and Rushmore bands, and
Right, right.
you know, we were right in the heart of that scene, right? So like, we were playing with the Early November, we were playing
Hmm.
with Houston Calls, and
Yeah.
one of our last tours before we called it quits, I think was supposed to be with like Socratic, which was like
Okay.
another. I don't know if they would Drive Through or Rushmore. I can't
I
remember.
think that was Rushmore.
Yeah, Rushmore. It was like us, them, and the junior varsity, who again are
Yep.
going at a second round here.
Love the junior varsity.
But yeah, like we probably should have been signed, right? To Drive Through. What we could have just like made all the rounds.
You could have. I mean, that's like that was just one of the, you know, the major 2000
Right.
hits, you know. It was just but otherwise, like you ticked a lot of the boxes. So that's sick. So besides now let's jump into like, you know, now time. Now time, Daniel. Nowadays, you're a licensed therapist, still
Yes.
keeping your emo roots. All right. I love your website. Your website's got a logo made by like, one of my favorite like designers, Cassie Podish. Immediately I
The
saw it
best.
and I was like, that's fucking Cassie. I love
Yep.
that.
The best.
Uh, you're it's promoted as therapy for the emotionally intense, which is also hilarious, and I love that. So, like, tell us. I mean, yeah, you're a therapist, we get that, but tell us like what about what you do, why you wanted to become a therapist.
So a lot of it stemmed from my time in Bedlight. One of my favorite things was connecting to humans, right? Like it was meeting fans, it was talking to people, it was hearing their stories and hearing how the band affected them and how the song, what the songs meant to them. So when we broke up, it was a very like odd time for me. I was still
Yeah,
very young, and I kind of went into depression, anxiety mode and didn't know. I thought it was going to be the rest of my life, right? Like I didn't join to think that we were going to call it quits and that was going to be it. So it was one of those things where when we called it quits, I was like, what am I doing with my life? What am I going to do? I
yeah.
dropped out of college to be in this band. Like I watched all my friends kind of like move on with their lives, and I kind of came back like, hey everyone, and everyone kind of moved on, right? So
Hmm.
it was a weird time. So that led me to like kind of do a little bit of soul searching, and my girlfriend, now wife, was kind of pushing me to go back to school and be like, well, you know, why don't you go back to school? Why don't you figure out what you want to do? And I was like, well, what can I do that I'll find that same amount of connection, or I'll find that same amount of one-on-one time? And it was, you know, through like, okay, mental health, psychology, all of that stuff led me to be like, well, I'll become a therapist. And that's where I went back to school. Um, you know, schooling for a therapist is insane. You have to do tons of hours and tons of stuff like that. Um, and yeah, and now I spend my days in front of the computer, you know, talking to people and doing and trying to help them out.
Do you do most of like do you do any like in person or is it mostly
I used to do in person. The pandemic kind of like struck all that down, and then I kind of just stayed that way.
yeah,
I like telehealth because it allows for a lot more accessibility for people who don't necessarily like want to go into an office.
right.
Offices are
Hmm.
stuffy, right? Like like it's awesome to be able to like sit on your couch or sit in your favorite room and be able to kind of feel comfortable and not have to be in someone else's stuffy office with like, a fake plant here and there. It's more just like, therapy on your own time.
But you didn't have like for your office, you didn't have like concert posters or anything up?
No,
'Cause that
no.
would have been great.
So like
My therapist now.
the pie in the sky dream, right, is, like eventually hit a certain threshold and then kind of like open up a space where I'd
Sure.
love for it to be, part practice, part like community space where
Yeah.
people could come and kind of like also find community. And like, my thoughts exactly are like, concert posters and different things like that. And, just having all that stuff available and up. I think they're conversation starters, right? Like,
100%.
who doesn't look at it and go like, "Oh yeah, I remember that band," or "Oh, I went to that show," or so especially the kind of niche I'm trying to, put myself in, um, where you attract people that are going to kind of really benefit from that.
Right. Do you so when you were first like kind of starting out as a therapist, were you trying to be more traditional, or did you go into it right out the gate being like, I want to like make this mine? Like, when did you start putting like the you kind of like your scene roots into it?
The scene roots is fairly new. Um,
Okay.
so I started very non-traditional. I started in like an equine practice. So working with horses and doing lots of grounded horse work. So you were never on the horse.
Okay.
You kind of just like were in the pens with the horses and utilizing that as a form of therapy. So like I started in a very non-traditional way.
Okay.
And then I've also done the traditional office and the traditional one-to-one stuff. But it wasn't until recent where I was kind of like searching for like what is my what is my identity in this field?
Hmm.
Um, what makes sense for me and what makes sense, for others, right? Like you said, like you went on the website and you were like,
Yeah.
I know exactly who did that logo.
Yeah.
And even in most of the wording on my website, like, I'm trying to make it as, non-clinical and non like sterile environment
Yeah.
as I can and have it be very inviting. So like the whole like infusing, I've always infused musical stuff, but this is really the first time where I've really gone full on like, hey, like this is part of who I am. And if it's part of who you are, we might be a good fit.
Cool. Yeah. So how is like have you seen a bit more of an uptick since you started doing that of like because I know like I said when I saw that I was like, oh man, I felt comfortable. Like right out the gate for me, I was like, I feel comfortable. If I was looking for a therapist, this is what I would want. Like this is comforting to me.
So I've definitely seen an uptick. I've definitely like, like we were talking about off camera, we were talking about like content wise, right? Like, so I've definitely
Yeah.
seen like an uptick of like people connecting. I think for me, it's going to come down to where I make the right connections to and how I choose to kind of navigate that because therapy is expensive.
Yeah.
And if we're going from, you know, I'll just say kids in the scene, right?
Hmm.
They there's the number one question or the number one answer that I get that when I ask people from the scene what holds you back from therapy, it's money.
Yeah.
It's we can't afford it, insurance sucks, this sucks. So like right now I'm trying to figure out like I have the idea like on my website I have the idea kind of coming soon of a you know maybe once a month a pay what you want day, where you can get like a 25-minute kind of mental health wellness consult where in that you can utilize that 25 minutes however you want and pay whatever you want. Um, that way, like if you're struggling to find someone, I can help you do that. If you just want to kind of like lay it all out there and be like, I hate everything, I hate this, I hate that, like, yeah, let's do it. Like let's scream at the world, right? So I'm trying to like figure out ways to get in there for people to kind of like give back and kind of
Yeah.
help destigmatize it in the scene because mental health is super stigmatized. It's better. There's a
Yeah.
lot more bands talking about it
Oh, for sure.
um, than there was when in the 2000s where it was just a free for all. And, we kind of saw how that played out, with a lot of bands and band members and stuff like that, that weren't addressing things, but also we weren't addressing it in the scene, right? Like a lot of times too, it has to come from the people in control and the people that are making the decisions to kind of make it accessible and visible for the people. So I think like that's my big goal is to make it more visible, more accessible, me being able to reach my hand in and say I can help you as opposed to them band members, crew members, fans having to figure out where to go.
That's great. I love that. Like, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I've thought about like seeking therapy and stuff before too, but it's like shit's expensive.
Yeah.
It's like it's like I guess I'll just figure it out on my own, and that's I think that's a way a lot of people feel, and it's awesome that like to hear that, someone out there cares enough to like try and figure out ways to make it accessible for,
Yeah.
for other people.
Yeah, it's so important because it's like you shouldn't have to suffer. You shouldn't have to like figure like you shouldn't have to like sell your car to go to therapy, right? Like you shouldn't
Right.
have to like make life altering decisions to talk to somebody. And that's the biggest thing because, there there are there are plenty of therapists that cost 200, 300, $400 a session. And
Hmm.
sometimes your insurance doesn't cover it, or you have a deductible, or you have to pay out of pocket for a certain amount of time, and it's not doable. You know, Also recognizing it's a job, right? So like me as a therapist, I have a family and things
Yeah.
to pay for, right? But like if I can figure out simple ways to be able
Hmm.
to like I said, like a pay what you want model where it's like let's figure out what you need and how
Hmm.
we can get you there because there are ways to do things. You know, a lot of people don't know like group therapy exists for people, right? Like you can do groups that are cheaper and meet, frequently that you can get into. There's lots of people do pro bono work
Hmm.
that you can find, but people don't know about that, right?
Right.
Like they only know. And then there's a lot of companies when you talk about band members and crew members, there's a lot of great companies out there that have referral networks, but they're not seeking you out. You have
Hmm.
to have the strength to say, I need help, I need to go seek them out, not
Hmm.
having someone go, hey, you just put out this statement that you guys are struggling mentally. Let's talk about it,
Hmm.
right? Like what are they doing? What's their label doing? What's their management doing? They
Hmm.
just giving them time off? Like, let's talk about it.
Hmm.
You should be in favor of that because it's going to make you money if they're touring. So like let's figure out how to not get them to cancel half a tour. Right? Just things like that. And how do you make it affordable?
Man, wish I would have had you back when Jamestown story broke up. Man, I think we would have made it. Would have made
Right?
it.
It didn't exist at all, right? We just like I, I don't know what we did, right? Most people drank, smoked, did whatever, or crawled up in the back of the van in fetal position and just kind of like, well, we'll go to the next state and see if it works out. We'll go to
Yeah.
the next place. That's all it ever was. And then all of us that came out of that are like looking at each other now in our 30s and 40s going like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Like, why do I have so many why is my anxiety so rough?
Yeah.
Man,
What?
this depression's killing me. Oh,
Yeah.
like, and no one, no label, no management was talking about mental health.
No.
No venue was talking about mental health.
No, that wasn't a thing until like recently, like
Yeah.
pretty recently, within the last like, 15 years probably.
Yeah, and it was
10,
all
10 years maybe is when it like really 10, 15 years probably.
and I really think it, to shout out the pop punk genre, I think like pop punk and like metalcore were
Mm-hmm.
really the ones to be like, to start writing songs referencing like
Yeah.
directly and then like talking about it
Mm-hmm.
and really do like, like listen to like the story so far or real friends
Yeah.
or whoever, like listen to some of those songs and be like, whoa, like something's up. Like let's
Yeah.
talk about it, man. Like what the
Oh yeah.
hell? And then some
Yeah.
of these, some of these metalcore bands that are like, we had to cancel this last leg of the tour because our singer can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
Okay, like what? Like let's talk about it. So, I think it's great that it's changing. I hope that it continues to move that way because I think it needs to. And it helps us also in the process humanize the like the band fan dynamic, because we realize that like bands aren't superhumans and
Mm-hmm.
don't wear capes and aren't the coolest people in the world. They have just the same amount of trouble and things that we have. And I think when you humanize that, it helps us, it helps that kid in the crowd that might be struggling with something and say like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna go get help because so and so is able to like talk about it. I have to be able to talk about it.
Right. Well, and that's just, I mean, that's just the way a lot of this goes as it is, especially when you see like someone you idolize,
Hmm.
you know, whether it's positive or negative, most of the time these people, imitate it,
Hmm.
So if, when rock and roll was fucking drugs and drinking like crazy, well, that's how you party, dude.
Yeah.
But like, if you see one of your favorite artists like going through the same shit you're going through, like
Yeah.
some traumas and stuff, and they address it, that oftentimes gives you the power to feel like you can do it too.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think it's still so needed.
Yeah.
Like the I said this the other day. I think I forgot who I was talking to, but I said this the other day. Like the concert and the community that's there is still such like a place of like, or should be a place of safety, right? It should be a place, oftentimes it's the safest place some of those people can go,
Hmm.
right? Like they're going to the concert to escape what's at home or
Right.
escape what's in their relationship, right? Like mom and dad might be abusive or something might be happening. They go to that show and they're able to do that. Imagine if that show was able to provide you resources when you have that friend to kind of nudge you and say, "Hey, look, like there's information over there on how to get help. Maybe you can talk to that person or maybe you can, talk to this other person who's, the merch guy knows, is accessible." You know, I think those things like would be great and I'd love to see them. I know it happens sometimes. I know there's bands that have like resources and
Hmm.
different things like that, but again, like few and far between. And again, like how do we help? Like I just want to help, right? Like
Right.
I just want to be able to help. Like that's the only reason I got into mental health was to help people and try and get them what they need.
Kudos to you, man. You're great. You're doing a great thing out there. And
Trying.
you're doing like you're out there, you're doing it. And that's so you're doing it. Like you just gotta keep pushing. Same as the rest of us. We just keep swimming. But thank you for doing what you do, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
I don't know how much you could go into about this, but I saw on your website you're doing something like an event that it just says coming soon.
Mm-hmm.
That basically is everything that you just talked about right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is
I don't
that
know if you could
the
go.
sad song supper club?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if you want to go into detail about like what that is
It's
or what you guys got planned for that because I saw basically
open book.
essentially everything you said right there. Like it's a safe space to to feel everything you've been feeling. Like you
Basically, I'd love to do like a workshop retreat sort of thing for people in the scene, right? Like there's all in therapy there's you can make a whole living off of retreats. That's like a big thing. And there's ones where they're like super manly ones where you go in the woods and you scream and you chop trees down. And then there's ones where you do yoga. There's all sorts of ones. And I was thinking like, well, why couldn't we do one that is built and geared towards people who were in the scene or are currently in the scene, where every workshop is built on, one of the posts I made was the lyrics that held us, right? Like, what were the lyrics that helped you to hold on when you were younger, right? What do you think about them now? What is you at 30, 40 years old, have to say to that kid that needed that lyric to hold them at that moment, right? Like, that's heavy shit. And
Yeah.
utilizing the scene, I think, just allows for another way in for people that are still those emotionally intense kids that were searching for community and searching for that thing. And why can't we have that at 30, 40, 50 years old, to where you meet up and you create, a program um for people where it's like, let's get together. And like, I'd love to have like a band or a couple bands, there to play, like sweet acoustic sets. Or,
Yeah.
there's plenty of these like emo night bands that are fantastic.
Yeah.
Give one of them a shot to play all the emo hits,
Yeah.
like come on and play and like get like a really great, like, there's plenty of great chefs out there looking for, looking to do stuff. And you can't tell me there's not chefs from the emo scene. Um,
I know one.
I
He's
know.
from
yeah,
like
so like, wouldn't it be cool to like sit around a table all together and talk about like we're doing here, talk about
Yeah.
your memory, talk about the memories and talk about the scene and stuff. So I think it's one of those things where I think once once I get the courage to drop it and kind of put it out there, I think it's something that will really catch on. Because I mean, look at the emo cruises, right? And
Yeah.
all of those things. This one is built more like, hey, you don't want to go on the cruise because you're deathly afraid of being around large groups of people. This is for you.
Hmm.
This is the space for you. And you know partnering with people is going to be important for something like that. So I think it's coming soon. It's just a matter of me having the courage to be like, let's do it. Let's go full on and figure that out. Figure out what the price point is. Figure out where we do it. I wish there was like a sweet concert venue that we could put it on in, because I think that would like make the most sense,
Right.
to kind of just have it be all themed. But I think also too it'd be cool to have it just in like a really sweet space where people can kind of spread out and relax and take that moment
Right.
with people that are there for them and to build a community.
Totally. That's awesome. That's a super cool idea. I love it. We're in. Let
We
count us
Hell,
in.
yeah,
all right, there
definitely.
you. Hey, you know what? You guys could do like a we could do like a live podcast
We'll do it.
sort of thing. I love those. I love having that because you could do like such great pointed questions, and then you can do a Q&A with people, sort of thing. So I think it's really awesome. And I again, like, I'm not the type of person that likes to go into the woods and chop down trees and scream and have someone
Mm-mm.
else scream at me.
No.
Um, but I do love scream therapy. Which is a great thing
Dude,
where you
you could
get
do
out there.
metalcore scream therapy
Hell
though.
yeah, absolutely. There's a girl on Instagram or TikTok or whatever that does metal yoga.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've had a yeah,
killing it. Like, what?
yeah.
How cool is that? Like, the first time I ever did yoga, I fell dead asleep and got kicked out. So
Yeah.
like, if I was doing metal yoga, I would definitely not fall asleep. But am I allowed to like two step is like really the thing. Am I
I think
allowed to get in there? And like,
you need to have like some sort of two-step like like base a whole bunch of shit, like two-stepping exercise, picking up change, a whole
Oh,
bunch of
hear me out. Hear me out. Moshing warm-ups like to start the day. So like every
yeah,
morning we're stretching, picking up change.
yeah,
We're
hell
stretching the
yeah.
legs with a little bit of the two steps.
Some
Mhm.
windmills, we
Mhm.
do it all. We do it all. I think that would be absolutely perfect.
Like we're in. Let's do it.
All right, this podcast cannot come out till we have this done now.
Yeah, right. Like, I just don't want anyone to get alarmed when all of a sudden I'm like, let's do a wall of death in the middle of downward dog. Like, let's just get up and do a sick wall of death. But
And
yeah,
that's
like,
the we could invite Shay Horner, we could have her run the emo yoga.
yeah. Well, that's what like so right now too is I'm doing a lot of connecting to people that like haven't necessarily like connected with before that are active now in the scene, and trying to kind of feel like just introduce myself like, hey, I'm Daniel, this is what I do, this is who
Yeah.
I am. I just want to introduce myself. So I've done that to a couple of managers. I've done that to a couple of like the big festival people.
Hmm.
And just kind of doing that. So when I do these things, where it's like, I could hit somebody up and be like, you do the metal yoga. Like, I'd love to have you come out.
Hmm.
Oh, you do that. I'd love to have you come out. Oh, I wish he's a bit big, but like Sad Poppy is he's like an emo chef, but
Mm.
like
Ooh.
he's one of those like he's like a great chef, but like he's like he's got like signature like knives and aprons now, so he's a little tough to get. But like,
Well, or like, like what is it, Maddie Matheson or
yeah,
whatever.
wouldn't
Like
that be great?
that's like that's top tier right there. He just started a hardcore band too.
Yes, yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible, and not realizing that. I don't know if you saw. Do you know who Teddy Swims is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That his like I never knew about his like screamo past, but he's got like a whole screamo band past, like Emarosa style, like
Hmm.
Emarosa. Not to
Hmm.
bring up all of those guys, but like um that era like
Yeah.
of screamo. Um, but yeah, like I have a ton of ideas for stuff like that. Those are just like that and the pay what you want idea were kind of like the first ones. Um, but obviously definitely like partnering with people who get the mission, who get like the vibe and are down to just like I want to help.
I love it. I want to see this happen. I think a lot of people could benefit from it. I think
Yeah.
it's great. All right. So we got one more question before we go to a quick break here. If you could give our listeners, you've given so much advice currently, but a piece of advice, so to the bands out there that you know now that you wish you knew when you were first starting out your musical journey, what would that be?
Hmm. I think for me it's don't forget number one, don't forget who helped you out. I think a lot of people like as numbers got bigger and things got more, it started popping off a little bit. They kind of like forgot about the community aspect. So
Hmm.
I'd love to see these bands building back a community that that really thrives with each other and really like helps each other out. And I think
Totally.
another one is like, understand that the fans of your band are what make it, don't take them for granted, because they kind of like make the world go round for you. And I think a lot of times, especially back then, there were definitely times in certain bands that took that for granted and didn't realize like that's what makes it go around. Like they're the ones who show up and pay the money and buy the
Right.
merch. So treat them that way. Connect with them. Be there with them. Don't make them pay $300 to get a signed poster and meet you for 4 seconds to take a picture, right? Like I know that that's like the few that's like right now and like where it's at, but like it'll 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 mean so much more in the long run because like you know I don't know. I think it's just like we need to get back to the community aspect and just write good songs.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where like write good songs and write songs that you're able to perform live. That was one of the biggest things that always bothered me. Still bothers me to this day. You hear one thing on the record and you show up and you're like, whoa, what's this? What's up with this? You
Hmm.
know, like where you're like they tune down like four steps and you don't know, it doesn't sound like what you heard. So I think it's like write good stuff, like work on the live stuff because that's where you're gonna connect. You know, like the CD is one thing, but when you're out at the show, people are gonna want to connect to you.
100%. Yeah. And like just going, it depends. Obviously, once you get to a certain size, it becomes a lot more difficult. But get
Right.
behind that merch table, man. Get behind that merch table.
Yeah. Yep.
Sling your own shit.
Sing your own stuff. And one of the best things that I ever heard, you know, and obviously people have their opinions about him, but Matty Healy from the 1975 talked about meet and greets. And he said, you know, if you're going to do a meet and greet, you collect the money. You take the money out of the fan's hand. Instead of having it be on your management or the venue or they buy it beforehand, you ask that kid for that $300 and you take that money from them and see how you feel after you take that money out of their hand
Hmm.
and take that much money from them and see if that's something that makes sense for you as opposed to like shit, I'd love to see instead of a meet and greet, let's have a roundtable discussion. Right? Like I forgot there was someone who did, I don't know if it was Anthony, it might have been Anthony Green who did it at one of his shows where he had like kind of like a roundtable discussion where he discussed like um substance use and a lot of different things with fans and they kind of got to ask questions and stuff like that. Like do that. Like that
Yeah.
benefits someone so much more than taking the money. So it's I think it's like let's build that community back. Let's write good songs. Let's keep like let's have great shows where people can feel like really safe and feel welcomed.
I love that. 100%. Couldn't agree more. Like 10 out of 10. Would visit again. Hell yeah. All right. I love that advice. And with that, we're going to take a quick break. And we'll be right back with our next segment. Want to give a huge shout out to our friends at Open Your Ears Records for teaming up with us at Unsigned Pop Punk to help spotlight even more awesome new artists. Open Your Ears Records is an indie label based out of Richmond, Virginia, and they've got a killer roster full of rising bands that you're going to want to keep on your radar. This week, we're stoked to highlight the brand new single See Myself by Wild Truth. If you're digging what you hear right now, go stream it. It's out now and available everywhere you get your music. Now, let's talk about Wild Truth for a second. These guys actually started out during a studio session for a totally different band. But somewhere along the way, the vibe shifted and they said, hey, let's start fresh. New band, clean slate, let's make something we actually love. That something became Wild Truth. The band is made up of Will, Clayton, and Nick, lifelong buddies who first met in Virginia Beach and eventually put down roots in Richmond. They've played a bunch of different projects over the years, but Wild Truth is where they really found their sound. Think alternative rock, but at its core, but with genre blending vibes that are honest, fresh, and totally their own. Big thanks again to Open Your Ears Records for supporting the show and helping us share rad new music with all of you. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for checking out the episode. Now let's get back to it.
And we're back. Thanks so much for sticking around. We're hopping into our next segment, everyone's favorite segment, the food for thought segment. Because, music, food,
Hand in hand.
just hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Food in
people
hand.
ask what do bands do when they're on tour? They're eating food or playing shows. That's basically it.
Or driving.
Or
Yeah.
driving. Maybe we'll do a thing. Maybe the next segment will be about cars in the future. We'll see.
Yeah, because we're all gearheads.
Oh,
Not
man.
me.
But so for us elder emos here, we're always on the road. Our snacking has definitely changed over the years. But let's do a quick little side by side look, all right? What what did essential gas station food look like for you back in 2007? And what does it look like compared to now?
Yeah, what's your gas station stop
For
compared to
me,
then?
for me, if we were stopping at a gas station, I was getting like Sour Patch Kids, some sort of cookies. I always got like this. I mean, this. Probably now my stomach couldn't handle it, but like I'd get like the local beef jerky that was always in like that weird plexi case.
Hmm.
Um, and then probably some sort of like Diet Coke, Diet Root Beer. Like when I was big on the Diet Root Beer, so it was probably like a Diet Root Beer.
Okay.
And now I don't think I'd even touch anything from a gas station. Like it'd have to be packaged. No rolling hot dogs or rolling
Oh
taquitos or
man.
anything like that. What people don't understand though is like when you get out of like when you start to like travel the country, some gas stations are legit though. Like you
Yeah.
go to like a TA, some of the pilots and like some of those places, like you could get good food. So
Hmm.
like you could kind of like have that, like go to a Sheets, like you can kind of get that hack where it's like, okay, I can get some decent food. But yeah, back then it was probably like Sour Patch Kids, beef jerky, and some sort of soda. If it was nighttime, it was probably like milk and cookies before I went to bed in the van. Um, and now it'd have to be like some prepackaged stuff and probably like a bottle of water.
Fair. Um, Thing I always got to ask, especially like back, you were touring the same time I was, so you'll know what I'm talking about. But were you ever brave enough to get da bomb burritos?
No, everyone else in my band was,
Nice. They were
which like
so good.
you then had to be like brave to like be in the van, sweaty, 12, 15 passenger van after four dudes just had the bomb burritos. Um,
Right.
but no, I know what you're talking about, but hell no, I was never brave enough for that.
That's fair. I get that. I thoroughly enjoyed them. They were terrible though.
Yeah,
They
I
were you're gonna get a tummy ache for sure.
it's amazing that a lot of us made it out of that era like without like ulcers and all sorts of like tears in our stomach because like of like what we put in our bodies after not eating for like 12 hours.
Right.
And then you all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'll just have this like hamburger at 8 in the morning.
Hmm.
Like just ridiculous stuff. But no, I was not brave enough for some of that stuff.
Or like, it was also when like energy drinks were like really
Yeah.
in their prime, like
Is before there
of
were regulations.
yeah, because I mean, I've told this story on the podcast before, but like when we're on Warp Tour, sponsored by Monster, we used to get cases
Yep.
of Monster. You didn't get water unless you were a band,
Right.
so and when I was doing it, I was as a vendor, and like you didn't get water. You got cases of Monster, and so you would get the rehab ones that just came out. So we would just be drinking cases of like rehab like it's
Yep.
water. I
Yeah.
don't know how we're like none of us, no one had a heart attack.
Yeah, we had a Red Bull sponsorship and it was just like, I remember like, 3 in the morning, you're just like shaking, driving like in pitch black Kentucky, like, thinking you see something off in the distance and like,
Oh,
yeah, I
the
don't know,
black
man.
dog.
Yeah, we used to just like pound like 12 packs and
Hmm.
like of Red Bull and like think it was okay. On
Yep.
top of like, oh, we're at the gas station. Let me just like throw in like a 5 hour energy over the top of that. And I'll get they used to have like the nitro coffees at
Yep.
those gas stations that was just like
Hmm.
absolute mud, but like
Hmm.
had like like just way past the normal level of caffeine in there.
Yes. Yep. Those are always fun. Like it was a fun time.
Yeah.
All right. So you already brought up one of these, but being over on the East Coast, which is superior in your opinion? Sheets or Wawa?
This is gonna piss some people off, especially if you're from the Pennsylvania area, but I was a Sheets person.
Wow. See, I
Yeah.
thought because like that would be Jersey would have been like is Wawa country.
See, so there's a little bit of like weirdness there. So I grew up in New York
Okay.
and like spent a lot of time in Jersey. So
Okay.
I didn't like necessarily like to and this is gonna piss people off too, but
You
I
don't
always
claim Jersey energy.
I used to view Wawa as like a little like cut above like a 7-Eleven,
Oh.
sort of thing. So like it wasn't really like, okay, guys, there's a difference. Like I could go down the block in New York to any like corner store deli and get like the best breakfast sandwich you can get, the best like, you know, chopped cheese, like whatever it was, like, and pound in Arizona can,
Hmm.
all that stuff. So like when I was like on tour and going to Wawa, I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Like I guess Sheets was just more of like this like weird like touch screen. You build
Hmm.
your this, you build your that. So like I probably just found that more fun to do
Dude,
than like
agreed.
walking into Wawa.
I I agree with you. I am a Sheets over Wawa person, but I know that that is them's fighting words for a lot of
Yeah,
people.
I'm down. Whoever wants to throw some hands, we can if you need to. I get it. I get that I just like, hurt some people's feelings. It's fine.
It's you can't win them all, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got a fisticuff.
No. Speaking of hurt feelings, people use food for so many different coping mechanisms from celebrating to sadness. This is a very unique question just for you because you have that there you could come this as like from a therapist standpoint. What are some healthy food options to maintain a healthy mind?
I think just like real foods, right? Like anytime you boil it down, like, you know, I mean, obviously I'm also guilty of like grabbing a can of Pringles or,
Hmm.
like, doing that. But obviously, anything that has like the great real ingredients, I think to me, all food is food. And if you're able to nourish your body, that's what we should be doing, right? Like is like nourishing ourselves. Um, you know, some of my go-tos are always going to be like grapes, cherries, like, things like
Mm,
that,
love cherries.
right? Like so those are my things. So like anything real you can get your hands on, right? Like I don't ever think like going to McDonald's and like, getting that processed burger is good for your brain. Um yeah, so like anything like you can kind of, you know, you can pronounce everything and know what it all is, I think is always like at least the best bet. But to me, it's like if you're out there nourishing yourself, like go right ahead.
Good answer. Good answer. That's what I was thinking too. That was
Right? Like as a therapist, like I don't try to and I don't want to ever like police someone's food,
right.
right? Like to me, like do your thing. For me personally, I think the more real you can get, the better off I am. It helps my brain and my body when
Right.
when
Right.
I'm in those positions.
I agree. Like it's well, it's a it's I mean, it's been pretty statistically proven that, all that processed stuff really fucks with people, it
Yeah.
fucks with your mind and and like Gibby was even saying, it's I use food as a coping mechanism. If I'm sad, typically I will gravitate towards eating shitty food. Like
Hmm.
I'm sad, fuck it. I want Little Caesars. That'll make me happy. And you know what? It does because I'm addicted.
Right.
That's just real life. Uh, but if food's crazy like that.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of times, like it creates like this ritualistic behavior, right? Like
Hmm.
I am sad, therefore I need to eat Little Caesars.
Yeah.
Um, and now we've linked the two, right? So it's like undoing that and unwinding that to being like, I am sad, I'm going to do this
Hmm.
instead is, kind of challenging yourself. But I totally get it. When I'm in a mood, like, I'm like, I want all the sushi ever. Like, I want just tons of sushi and I don't want anyone to tell me no. Sort of thing. So I
I feel like that's
totally get
still a
that.
significantly healthier option than Little Caesars,
Well,
but
you'd be surprised though, because there's there's a lot of like all that mercury, all that other stuff, so you could be potentially putting yourself in a worse position
I
than the Little
suppose.
Caesars. But I don't even think there's a Little Caesars by me anymore. But I totally get that though. Like the Domino's, Pizza
Yeah.
Hut,
Hmm.
just
Processed
that type
cardboard
of
pizza. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Totally. All right. This is our last food for thought question. This is yeah, take the band, take the everything you've accomplished, your culmination. All right. Put it all together. If Bedlight for Blue Eyes was a potato, what kind of potato would you be?
Mm. Are we asking like like type of potato or type of like food made from a
Whatever,
potato?
whatever your heart leads you to.
Okay. I'd be, oh, that's such a good question, but like I feel like, just like that like big old waffle fry. Like just that waffle fry that feels nostalgic, that feels like it's got like something to tell you, as opposed to like the little dinky like skinny fries,
Yeah,
or like the what, like you always get that they're the right crisp. They have a little bit of seasoning salt on them, um, and like you dip them in whatever you want.
I like that. Waffle fry is a good answer. You can't go wrong with a good waffle fry.
I just had waffle fries.
I don't know if I've ever had a bad waffle fry,
I
but
don't think so.
I don't have waffle fries often. Not many places do it.
No, it's very rare. Very rare that you find a place that's giving you the waffle fry option.
Hmm. Where'd you get a waffle fry at?
Where the hell was that? I think it was at a like a pizza place in a random town in Massachusetts.
Oh,
They had it as an option.
right on.
It was
I
lovely.
only ever see, sometimes you'll get the number one fry choice, which is clearly a curly fry. Um,
Mm,
I mean, and I'm not saying it like because you be like, but if I'm consuming fries, a curly fry is
yeah,
the number one fry. But typically it's like curly fry, sweet potato fry, or just some sort of basic shoestring fry.
yeah,
Every once in a while you might get like, I mean, steak fries, I guess too,
yeah.
or a potato wedge.
So
You
a
never get
lot of times
wedges
they do
anymore.
tots now too. There's a lot.
Oh, tots are good, yeah.
I've been to a lot of restaurants that are doing tots now.
But I feel tots are a little more difficult because you have to get it perfect. Otherwise, like if you get like a mushy
Gotta be,
tot, that's
yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
bullshit.
It's got to
It's,
be crunchy,
yeah.
but still like super silky in the middle.
Hmm. Yeah. But otherwise, tots are great as
Yeah.
if but it's got to be done right. All right, that's the end of the food for thought segment. Now it's time for rapid fire questions.
Friendships will be tested. Rapid fire questions.
Just gonna speak from the heart, shoot from the hip, whatever the first thing that comes to your mind. even if it's not one of these two options I'm going to present towards you, you just speak your truth.
Gotcha.
All right. These are new ones, so you have for surely not heard them yet.
Got it.
Liquid Death or LaCroix?
LaCroix.
Okay. Spotify or Apple Music?
Spotify.
South Park or Family Guy?
South Park.
PlayStation or Xbox?
PlayStation.
Walmart or Target?
Target.
Yeah. Pizza Hut or Domino's?
Pizza Hut.
Darth Vader or Voldemort?
Vader.
Good Charlotte or Simple Plan? We got him with the last one, Gibby.
There we go.
I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Good Charlotte.
That's the right answer. It's tough because they're both great, but I mean, lifestyles of the rich and the famous.
Yeah.
It's
And
top tier.
the Madden brothers have done so much for the scene.
Mhm.
Like, like I think they bought alternative press too. Like
Mhm.
they've done a lot of cool stuff. So I think it's and that lifestyles of the rich and famous. Like the lyrics in
Mhm.
that are insane. And like little did we know in 2025 we could listen to them now and be like,
This
yeah,
still hits
Yeah.
right.
this
Yeah.
still hits just as hard.
That whole album is like top to bottom, like a 10 out of 10 album.
Yeah, so good. The video for it, like the videos they were putting out. Although, like, I'll give Simple Plan their props. Like,
Oh yeah.
so good. One of my good buddies is opening up for them on their next stint.
Nice. Like,
Shout
and
out.
they're still doing great. Sorry, shout out.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
shout out Losers Club.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
Losers Club is great.
Yeah, my buddy Nate is the and Andy, which Andy from Losers Club is originally in the band Roses Are Red, which was a Trustkill band. So it's like there's a lot of cool stuff. But Nate's a great dude. He was also in I Set My Friends on Fire, which like is
Ah,
straight up MySpace core.
dude,
Like MySpace
we-
core to the max.
I definitely know I set my friends on fire.
Yeah, they were they still play too. They play
Yeah.
all the festivals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did something where, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. They had bought whenwewereyoung.com
Yeah.
or
Yep,
whenwewereyoungfest.com and had
yep.
it routed back
They're
to
the
them.
one that did it. Yep.
Yeah, which is like such a good move.
That
Like
was funny.
such a great move. But yeah, like Simple Plan too, like tons of huge songs that were like again like speaking to the generation.
Right. The only difference is I wanted to wear all black and have as many studs on my body as possible. In Simple Plan, they just didn't offer me that.
No, they didn't do it. Like they
were
didn't go down that. They didn't go too far deep into the Hot Topic belt
they were more
section.
they were more cookie cutter, and that's okay. That's why they got that Scooby-Doo gig,
Yeah.
But like Simple Plan kills it, Good Charlotte, they kill it. It's a tough choice, but
Yeah.
I agree. Good Charlotte wins it out in the end to me. Even though I feel like after their first two albums, Good Charlotte really started to struggle. To me personally, I didn't like the albums after that.
Yeah.
Simple Plan really kind of just kept being Simple Plan. Like
And that's the formula, right? Like that's the easiest way, I think, to keep the fans you have while also like, still being able to like, tour and speak to those people. It's when like you get out of that zone where you take that risk, and sometimes it pays off, and sometimes people are like, we want lifestyles of the rich and the famous, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, and it's like you gotta let the brothers grow.
And I mean, it did work for them. Like, for what I remember, their like next couple albums were like way big, like super success because they were way more poppy. but I just that wasn't my route.
Yeah, you weren't looking for that.
No, not yet. Not yet. I'm more into pop stuff now, but back then I was still I'm fighting the good fight that Dude Ranch is the best Blink-182 album. However, I know where I lay on that hill. uh but yeah, that's it, man. You did it.
I did it.
You finished the podcast. Now's your chance. A little recap. Let everybody know what you got going on, where they can find you, and what's next.
So you can find me on obviously on Instagram, Daniel Rinaldi LMHC, DanielRinaldiLMHC.com. I have all sorts of information up there about therapy. I have some events, coming soon when I get the courage to drop them. I also have coaching options for people who aren't into the therapy setting, like I kind of utilize it as like burnout coaching, creative endeavor coaching, to where it's kind of like, let's get that spark back, let's figure it out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just trying to bring mental health into the scene, trying to help everyone out, and hopefully we can destigmatize it enough that it's, just something that we all talk about and build community over.
Love it. Dude, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. This was a blast.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
No, this is serious. Super fun. Loved it. Everybody, well, if you're still here, go check out Daniel and check out the website. Make sure you go follow him on socials. Everything he's doing is super important, and maybe we'll see you at some sort of like a little fun little get together sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah. Well, this has been another episode of the Unsigned Pop Punk Podcast. We'll see you all on Monday.
Thank you so much for checking out the show. Please hit that like, subscribe, or follow button so you never miss an episode. And thank you to those who already are. Please rate and review the show to help the show be found by new people. And if you're in the position to help us grow, head on over to our website where you can find merch, our Patreon, and other ways that you can help at www.unsignedpoppunk.com. Let us know in the comments who else you'd like to see on the show and what other content you would like to see. Thank you so much for spending your time with us.